The starship Astria hummed softly as it descended toward Lyra 9. Captain Elias Dorn watched the planet grow larger in the viewport, its green and gold continents shimmering under twin suns. Humans had settled here decades ago, but the planet was far from peaceful. Alien species roamed the skies, and the settlements were small, fragile, and self-reliant. Elias, though only 35, had seen enough of the galaxy to know that life on the frontier was never simple, but it was in these challenging places that humans shined. The shuttle touched down with a soft thud. Dust rose around the landing pad, creating small clouds that danced in the light. Elias stepped out first, scanning the colony. Tiny buildings made of metal and local stone clustered together, surrounded by fields of strange, vibrant plants. There was a quiet order in the chaos, a sign that humans had adapted well to this alien world. But Elias could feel the tension in the air. Something was not right. As he walked toward the main hall, he noticed a figure standing apart from the others. She was small but confident, with dark hair pulled back and eyes that seemed to measure everything in a glance. Sarah. He had heard about her, the engineer who kept the colony alive, who could fix anything from a broken generator to a dying starship engine. She was the kind of human who made others look ordinary, and Elias felt an unexplainable pull toward her energy. "You must be Captain Dorn," she said, her voice firm but warm. "I've read your reports. You're the one they call the negotiator." "That's me," Elias replied with a small smile. "And you must be Sarah. Everyone says you're the one keeping this place running." "I try," she said, tilting her head. Her eyes, sharp as a hawk's, studied him. Then she took a step closer, lowering her voice. "So, is there room for me in your life?" Elias froze for a moment. The question wasn't expected. Not in a negotiation report, not in a mission briefing, and certainly not on a dusty landing pad on a frontier planet. But he didn't hesitate. "What if you chose to stay for a lifetime?" he replied, his words calm, carrying a weight that made her pause. Her lips curved into a faint smile, but she quickly turned her attention back to the colony. Elias followed her gaze and noticed the tension in the settlers' movements. Something was happening beyond the usual quiet of daily life. Before he could ask, a sharp alarm echoed across the colony. Red lights flashed on the main hall. Elias and Sarah ran toward the command center, where the colonists had already gathered around holographic displays. A fleet of alien ships had been detected in orbit. Not just scouts. They were moving in formation, fast and precise. The colonists murmured anxiously. Many were humans, but some were aliens who had lived alongside them for years. All of them, though, were unaccustomed to battle of this scale. Elias took command immediately. "Listen," he said, projecting calm and authority. "We don't know their intentions yet, but we do know we have strengths they might not expect. Humans think differently. Humans adapt. Humans survive." Sarah nodded, stepping forward. "If you're counting on adaptability, you can count on me. The colony's systems, shields, and engines, I can make them work faster, smarter. If we have a chance, we'll take it." Elias appreciated her confidence. Humans often relied on raw power or technology, but Sarah and her kind relied on ingenuity and courage, qualities that could turn even desperate odds into victories. "Good," Elias said. "We need a plan. Our first priority is civilians, evacuation routes, shelters, communication lines, then defense. Let's see what we can do before they even land." The next few hours were a whirlwind. Humans and alien allies worked side by side, setting up shields, diverting power, and preparing evacuation protocols. Elias moved among them, issuing orders, calming fears, and inspiring determination. Humans, he noticed, had a unique ability to lead by example rather than authority alone. The colonists watched him, and many followed because they trusted not just his rank, but his courage. Meanwhile, Sarah worked tirelessly in the engineering hub. Her hands flew over control panels, rerouting energy, reinforcing shields, and activating the colony's limited orbital defenses. She spoke to Elias occasionally, giving updates in short, sharp sentences. "Shields at 70%, engines stable. We can redirect energy to weapons if needed." "Do it," Elias replied. "And Sarah, thank you for staying." Her eyes met his again, and for a moment the alarm and flashing lights seemed to fade. She gave a small nod. "I'm staying," she said simply. By evening, the alien fleet was visible in the sky, a dark line of ships against the setting twin suns. They weren't attacking yet, but their presence alone caused a ripple of tension across the colony. Humans moved with purpose, their hearts steady, their minds sharp. Unlike the aliens, they could improvise, could find opportunities in danger, and could inspire others to follow them even into the unknown. Elias stood on the observation deck, looking out at the approaching fleet. Sarah joined him silently, her hands tucked behind her back. "They've never faced humans like this before," Elias said, almost to himself. "They rely on rules, routines, patterns. We don't." Sarah smiled faintly. "Then they'll have to learn." The night fell on Lyra 9. The twin moons rose slowly, casting silver light over the settlement. Humans lit fires in strategic points, their glow signaling preparedness rather than fear. Some alien allies watched in awe, unused to this combination of courage, intelligence, and unity. Elias and Sarah returned to the command center, reviewing plans and monitoring incoming signals. Every few minutes, the alien fleet shifted position, testing defenses, probing for weaknesses. But every time they tried, humans adapted. Shields were reinforced in unexpected ways, communications rerouted to prevent interception, and decoy generators misled the enemy sensors. Hours passed like minutes, and through it all, Elias and Sarah worked side by side. There was an unspoken understanding between them. In this world, nothing could be guaranteed. But they could rely on each other, on the human spirit, and on their shared determination. Finally, as dawn broke over the colony, the alien fleet pulled back slightly, maintaining distance but circling in formation. It was clear this was only the beginning. Lyra 9 had been tested, and the humans had responded, not with sheer firepower, but with intelligence, courage, and unity. The qualities that made humanity stand out in a galaxy full of advanced species. Elias looked at Sarah and nodded. "This is only the start," he said. Sarah's eyes sparkled with determination. "Then we'll show them what humans can do. Together." And in that moment, under the twin suns of Lyra 9, two humans stood ready to face a universe that had never truly understood them. Not through aggression, but through courage, innovation, and an unbreakable spirit, the heart of humanity itself. The colony was still small, the enemy was powerful. But the human will? That was limitless. And as the stars stretched above them, Elias and Sarah knew that no matter what came, there was always room for bravery, for connection, and for humans to rise. The twin suns of Lyra 9 rose higher, casting long golden light over the settlement. The colonists had not slept, but no one complained. Humans had a way of facing fear without surrendering to it. Captain Elias Dorn moved through the colony with a calm determination, observing the settlers preparing for the worst. Even the alien allies who had been living here for years looked uneasy. "Sir," said Lieutenant Haran, one of Elias's officers, pointing toward the viewport. "The fleet hasn't retreated. They're circling, scanning, trying to understand our defenses, but they're slower than expected." Elias nodded. "Good. That means we can use their patterns against them. Humans are unpredictable. That is our advantage." He paused, thinking. We need to hit them where they least expect it, and we need to protect the civilians first. At that moment, Sarah appeared beside him, her hands on her hips. I've calculated their energy signatures, she said. Their ships rely on steady power distribution. If we can overload certain nodes at the right time, we could blind a section of their fleet temporarily. It won't destroy them, but it will give us room to maneuver. Elias raised an eyebrow. That's risky. Sarah smiled faintly. Of course it is. But humans are never afraid to take risks when survival is on the line. He felt a surge of pride. She was right. It was that boldness, that willingness to act where others hesitated, that made humans remarkable. The colonists were already in motion. Families moved into shelters reinforced with Sarah's engineering solutions. Scouts patrolled the perimeter, reporting every movement in the skies. Alien allies provided support. But their methods were rigid and structured, effective in normal circumstances, but slow to adapt to the chaos that humans could create. Elias called the colony leaders together in the command hall. The room buzzed with tension, yet also with determination. Humans and aliens alike waited for guidance, looking to him for a plan. We will not wait for them to strike first, Elias began. We will show them what humans can do. They rely on rules. They expect us to follow patterns. But humans make patterns their own. We improvise. We adapt. And we survive. There were nods around the room and a murmur of agreement. Even some of the aliens seemed inspired by his words. Sarah stepped forward. I've prepared several systems to manipulate their sensors. If we time it correctly, we can create illusions of defenses and movements that don't exist. They will waste time and energy responding to things that aren't there. Elias smiled. Excellent. Let's turn their advantage against them. But we need to divide our focus. Civilians, defense, and attack. Everyone must know their role. By midday, the colony was a hive of controlled chaos. Elias moved between groups, checking on shields, weapons, and civilian safety. He noticed Sarah instructing a group of engineers, her hands moving rapidly as she explained modifications to the energy grid. Her ability to see solutions where others saw problems reminded him why humans were considered unpredictable, even dangerous by other species. As the alien fleet loomed in orbit, a group of scouts reported movement in the outer regions. Small attack ships approaching from the east, said one young human. It looks like they're testing us. Elias quickly assembled a response team, including Sarah. We'll intercept them, he said. But remember, this is not just about fighting. It's about showing them that humans think differently. Use your creativity. Improvise if necessary. The team boarded a small shuttle. Elias sat at the controls, Sarah beside him reviewing the data screens. The alien ships were sleek, dark, and fast. They moved in perfect formation, assuming that humans would respond with the same rigid tactics they had used before. Ready? Elias asked. Sarah nodded. Let's show them what humans can do. The shuttle soared into the skies above Lyra 9, weaving between the colony's defensive towers. As they approached the alien scouts, Elias activated a series of decoy signals Sarah had prepared. The alien ships reacted instantly, splitting their formation and chasing false targets. Perfect, Sarah said, her eyes shining. They've taken the bait. Elias smiled. Now we push. The humans moved with speed and precision, hitting weak points in the alien formation. They didn't destroy ships. They didn't need to. Their goal was to confuse, mislead, and demonstrate that humans could turn even disadvantage into advantage. Within minutes, the scouts were retreating, unable to understand the sudden unpredictability of human tactics. Back at the colony, the settlers watched the sky, some cheering quietly. The aliens who had lived among humans for years looked amazed. The humans had done what no other species could. They had turned fear into creativity, chaos into strategy. After the encounter, Elias and Sarah returned to the command center. Both were slightly breathless but exhilarated. "That went well," Elias said. "They didn't expect humans to act this way." Sarah shook her head. "They never do. And that is why we survive. That is why humans endure." Their eyes met for a moment, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. It wasn't just strategy or tactics. It was human courage, creativity, and trust in one another that made the difference. Hours passed, and the alien fleet maintained its orbit. They didn't attack outright, but were clearly analyzing human behavior. Each move humans made was unpredictable, forcing the aliens to adapt constantly. The colony, under Elias and Sarah's guidance, began to see a small but significant truth. Humans were not just survivors. They were innovators. During a brief rest, Sarah walked with Elias to the edge of the settlement. The twin suns were lowering toward the horizon, painting the sky in gold and violet. "They're impressive," she said quietly. "But I think we're more impressive." Elias chuckled. "Humans, yes. But also, you." She looked at him, her expression softening. "I stay because I believe in people like you, people like us. We don't back down, even when the odds are against us." He nodded. "Exactly. That is what makes humans dangerous to those who underestimate them." Night fell on Lyra 9, and the alien fleet remained in orbit, still circling, but not striking. For the first time, some colonists dared to hope that they could survive this threat. The humans' courage and ingenuity had already given them an edge. Yet Elias knew the battle was far from over. The alien fleet was patient, methodical, and clearly not used to being challenged by humans. They would return with new tactics, stronger ships, and greater force. But Elias also knew that no matter how advanced the aliens were, humans had something they did not: unpredictability, creativity, and the unshakable will to protect what they loved. Sarah returned to her engineering station, already planning modifications for the next encounter. Elias moved through the colony, checking on defenses, ensuring civilians were safe, and observing his people. He felt a deep pride. These humans, no matter how small their numbers, were capable of greatness, and as long as they stood together, no enemy could take that from them. The next morning brought clearer skies, but also increased tension. Reports indicated that the alien fleet was positioning for a larger strike. The scouts they had repelled yesterday were now regrouping, possibly to test a different part of the colony. Elias called a meeting. "They're learning," he said. "But so are we. We will use everything humans have to offer: intelligence, creativity, courage, and teamwork. Every human in this colony can make a difference. Every alien who fights with us will learn that humans are not to be underestimated." Sarah added, "And we will continue to adapt. They can't predict what humans will do next. That is our greatest weapon." Elias smiled. "Exactly. Let's get to work." By the end of the day, the humans had reinforced defenses, trained civilians for emergency maneuvers, and coordinated with alien allies to cover every approach. The colony was tense, but ready. Every human who moved through the settlement carried the same quiet determination. They would not surrender, they would not panic, and they would find a way to survive. That night, Elias and Sarah once again stood together, looking at the distant fleet shimmering in the orbit above. There was a calm understanding between them, an unspoken promise that they would face whatever came next together. Humanity was not just alive on Lyra 9, it was thriving in the most unexpected ways. Courage, ingenuity, and determination were proving stronger than fear or superior technology. And as the stars glittered above, Elias knew this was only the beginning. The humans of Lyra 9 were ready to show the galaxy what it truly meant to be human. The morning on Lyra 9 was unusually quiet. The twin suns rose slowly. painting the horizon in shades of orange and gold. Most of the colonists were awake, tending to the settlement and making minor repairs after the previous day's skirmish. But the calm was deceptive. Captain Elias Dorn knew the alien fleet would not wait long before testing their defenses again. They were calculating, patient, and intelligent, but humans thrived in unpredictability. "Elias," Sarah called, rushing toward him with a data pad in her hands. "We've picked up unusual signals from the northern perimeter. It's not the fleet itself. These are smaller vessels, fast and stealthy. They're probing the outer settlements." Elias frowned, scanning the display. "We can't just wait for them to attack. If they find weaknesses, the entire colony is at risk. We need to intercept them before they reach civilian areas." Sarah nodded. "I've already prepared a shuttle. We can take a small team, hit them before they know we're there, and gather intelligence. But it's dangerous. Their speed and maneuvering capabilities are advanced, far beyond what most humans can handle in a direct fight." "Then we'll use what humans do best," Elias said. "Creativity, improvisation, and courage. Let's move." By mid-morning, Elias, Sarah, and a small squad of human pilots boarded the shuttle Aurora. The vessel was nimble but lightly armored, relying on speed and ingenuity rather than brute force. As the shuttle lifted off, the twin suns reflected off its metallic surface, making it shine like a silver arrow against the rising light. "Keep your eyes open," Elias said, checking the controls. "We can't afford mistakes." Sarah sat beside him, her fingers flying across the control panel, rerouting power to shields and engines. "I've modified the sensors to detect even minimal energy fluctuations. If they try to sneak past us, we'll know." The shuttle glided over the northern perimeter. The landscape below was rugged, with jagged cliffs and scattered alien flora. The team moved quietly, blending with the terrain as much as possible. Suddenly, the scanners picked up movement. Small, dark vessels emerged from behind the cliffs. The alien scouts were fast, almost invisible against the rocky background. "Visual confirmed," said one of the pilots. "They're moving in a wedge formation. They might be testing our reaction times." Elias smiled grimly. "Then we'll give them a test of our own." He tapped the console, and Sarah's modifications came into play. Holographic decoys appeared around the shuttle, simulating multiple ships where there were none. The alien scouts reacted instantly, diverting their path toward the false targets. "They fell for it," Sarah said, her eyes bright with satisfaction. "Now we move." Elias piloted the Aurora toward the alien vessels, weaving through narrow canyons. The scouts tried to chase, but the shuttle's speed and the unpredictability of human piloting gave them the advantage. Humans could improvise in ways machines and alien protocols could not anticipate. Suddenly, one of the scouts fired a pulse weapon, striking near the shuttle. Sparks flew across the hull, and alarms blared. "Brace!" Elias shouted. The shuttle tilted sharply, weaving through the canyon. Sarah adjusted the power distribution, stabilizing the ship. "We can't stay in this narrow canyon much longer," Sarah warned. "They'll trap us if we don't get out." Elias nodded, scanning for a path. He spotted a narrow tunnel that cut through the cliffs, barely wide enough for the shuttle. "There," he said. "We'll go through it. Follow my lead." The team held their breath as the shuttle plunged into the tunnel. Rocks scraped against the hull, and the narrow walls pressed close, but Elias's steady hands guided them safely through. Behind them, the alien scouts struggled to follow, unable to match the humans' quick thinking. Once out of the tunnel, the shuttle climbed into open space. Elias exhaled slowly, letting tension drain from his shoulders. "Good work," he said. "But this was just the beginning. They'll return stronger and smarter." Sarah turned to him. "They may have better technology, Elias, but humans have something they can't measure. Intuition and courage. They may be advanced, but they can't predict human creativity. That's why we survive." The team continued their pursuit, following the scouts to gather intelligence. They discovered that the aliens were scouting for weak points in the colony's defenses, particularly the energy grid and shield generators. The humans realized that if the aliens coordinated an attack based on this information, the settlement could be in serious danger. "We need to get this data back to the colony," Elias said. "We can't fight blindly." Sarah nodded, her fingers working over the console to secure the files. "I can encrypt it and send it ahead, but we have to be careful. They'll try to jam any transmission." As they prepared to send the data, the alien scouts regrouped, attempting to surround the shuttle. Elias's heart raced. The situation was tense, but fear did not dominate him. It sharpened his focus. Humans thrived in adversity, and he intended to prove it once again. "Follow my lead," he said. "We'll create a pattern they can't predict." He maneuvered the shuttle in sharp, unexpected arcs, diving and climbing with precision. The alien scouts fired repeatedly, but their attacks were disorganized, confused by the humans' unpredictable movements. Sarah's skill with the sensors allowed them to anticipate enemy fire and evade strikes. Minutes felt like hours, but finally the Aurora cleared the danger zone. Elias exhaled, feeling the tension slowly release. The alien scouts were damaged, scattered, and unable to continue pursuit. "Data transmitted," Sarah said, her voice calm but triumphant. "The colony now knows their positions, their weak points, everything. They can prepare for the next encounter." Elias smiled. "Excellent. Humanity survives because we act when others hesitate, and we think when others blindly follow rules. That is our strength." The shuttle returned to Lyra 9, landing safely at the colony. The team disembarked to cheers from the settlers. Even the alien allies, who had never seen humans in such action before, seemed impressed. Colonists gathered around the command hall as Elias presented the intelligence. "This shows why humans endure," he said. "We don't just survive. We adapt, we improvise, and we protect each other. This is how we face threats that seem impossible." Sarah stood beside him, smiling. "And we will continue to do so, no matter what comes next." The day passed in a flurry of activity. Shields were reinforced, new decoy systems installed, and civilians trained in emergency procedures. Humans and their allies worked together, each person contributing their strength. The colonists began to see that the threat from the alien fleet, though serious, could be met with courage and ingenuity. As night fell, Elias and Sarah walked to the edge of the settlement. The twin moons hung in the sky, casting silver light over the colony. "They are clever," Elias said quietly. "But humans, we are something else entirely." Sarah looked at him, her eyes reflecting the moonlight. "We are more than clever. We are brave, we are determined, and we never give up." He nodded, feeling a deep connection with her. The bond forged in danger was strong, unspoken, but undeniable. Humans thrived not only because of their ingenuity, but because of trust and loyalty to one another. The stars above Lyra 9 glittered as if celebrating their victory, but Elias knew the trial was far from over. The alien fleet would return, and the next encounter would be more dangerous. Yet he also knew that humanity had something that no alien technology could match: courage, creativity, and an unbreakable spirit. And as he looked at Sarah, standing confidently beside him, he realized something else. Humans could endure anything, but together they could inspire hope, even in the darkest of skies. That night, the colony slept uneasily, yet confidently. Humans had faced the trial, survived it, and grown stronger, and Elias, Sarah, and their people knew that no matter what the universe threw at them, humanity's spirit would not be broken. The trial had tested them, but humans had passed, and tomorrow they would be ready for the next challenge. The twin suns of Lyra 9 had barely risen when the alien fleet returned. This time, it was not a small scouting group. Hundreds of ships spread across the sky, their dark hulls glinting like ominous stars against the rising light. The colonists watched in silence, tension rising in the pit of every stomach. They had seen humans act brilliantly under pressure before, but the scale of this attack was unlike anything they had faced. Captain Elias Dorn stood on the observation deck, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the incoming fleet. His face was calm, but his mind worked rapidly, calculating every possibility. Beside him, Sarah monitored the energy grids and shield systems, her hands moving with practiced precision over the controls. "They're coming for the colony," she said quietly, her voice steady. "They've learned from our previous engagements. They'll be stronger, faster, and more coordinated." Elias nodded. "So will we. Humans thrive when the odds are against us. We'll fight smart, not just hard." The colonists had already taken their positions. Civilians were in reinforced shelters, and scouts were monitoring every approach. Aliens who had lived peacefully among the humans now prepared to fight alongside them. Every person on Lyra 9 had a role, and every role was vital. Elias turned to Sarah. "We split their forces. Draw them into traps where our terrain advantages matter. Our shields can hold, but only if we manage their energy wisely." Sarah nodded. "I've set the generator nodes to divert energy automatically if one fails. We'll have redundancy, but it will push our systems to the limit." The first wave of alien ships entered the atmosphere. They moved with precision, relying on their superior technology to overwhelm the colony quickly. But Elias had predicted this. Humans did not act predictably, and he had prepared. "Activate decoys," he commanded. "Use every system Sarah has configured. Make them waste their firepower." The sky erupted with energy illusions. Holographic ships that moved like real ones, false shield readings, and phantom energy signatures. The alien fleet reacted instantly, dividing their forces, striking at shadows rather than real targets. "Now," Elias shouted, "flank them from the cliffs. Use every narrow pass." Human pilots surged into the battle, weaving through canyons and ridges. Their shuttle maneuvers were daring, unpredictable, and terrifying to the aliens. Laser fire lit the skies, but humans used it defensively and strategically, never recklessly. They struck weak points in the enemy formation, then disappeared into terrain or decoys. Sarah directed energy from the colony's shields to defensive turrets, keeping them operating at maximum efficiency. She coordinated every strike, every diversion, turning chaos into a symphony of defense. "Keep moving," she called. "They can't predict us if we don't make patterns." Elias moved through the colony as well, checking on shields and civilians, issuing commands. His presence alone inspired people to act bravely, to innovate solutions on the fly. One human repaired a damaged generator using spare parts and wire that should have been useless. Another rigged a turret to fire from an angle the aliens hadn't expected. Every action displayed the adaptability and ingenuity that defined humans. The alien fleet attempted to focus their firepower, but the humans' creativity frustrated them. Shields were reinforced at critical moments, energy was rerouted to key weapons, and decoys drew attacks away from real targets. Every human seemed to anticipate and adapt in real time. Sarah monitored the enemy's formation. "They're trying to regroup," she said. "If we keep up the pressure, we can force them into their blind spots, the cliffs, the valleys. They'll run into ambush points we've prepared." Elias smiled grimly. "Then it's time to make them pay attention. Humans fight differently than anything they've faced." The battle reached its peak as alien ships entered a canyon the humans had prepped with automated turrets and energy traps. Aliens tried to adjust, but they could not predict every diversion, every hidden defense. Human ingenuity was unpredictable, and that was their greatest weapon. From the observation deck, Elias watched as pilots and engineers moved in perfect coordination. Civilians had even taken roles supporting communication and minor defenses, showing that humanity's courage extended beyond trained soldiers. Every person mattered, and everyone's actions contributed to the colony's survival. Hours passed in the clash of light, fire, and energy. The aliens were clever, but humans were relentless. They did not rely on the superiority of technology alone. They thought creatively, adapted quickly, and inspired each other to continue. Finally, the alien fleet faltered. They had lost several ships, but more importantly, their coordinated strike had failed. The humans had forced them into repeated traps, causing confusion and miscommunication. For the first time, the aliens hesitated. Elias stood beside Sarah, watching the fleet begin to withdraw. "They've underestimated humans," he said. Sarah's eyes shone with pride. "And that is why humans survive. Because we never give up, and we never act predictably. Courage and creativity are more powerful than technology alone." The colonists cheered, but Elias knew the fight was not over. The alien fleet would return, likely stronger and smarter. But the humans had shown what they could do when they trusted each other, when they acted together with courage and intelligence. Night fell, and Lyra 9 was quiet again. The settlement had endured, though the sky was scarred with remnants of the battle, burned ground, damaged ships, and smoldering terrain. Humans moved among the damage, repairing what they could and planning for the next strike. Elias and Sarah walked through the settlement together. "They will come back," Elias said quietly. Sarah nodded. "We will be ready. We always are." He looked at her, seeing the determination in her eyes, the same spirit he saw in every human who stood for survival and hope. "Humans are not just survivors," he said. "We are innovators. We inspire courage, even in others. That is our power." Sarah smiled faintly. "And we fight not just with weapons, but with our minds and hearts. That is why we endure. That is why we survive." They paused at the edge of the settlement, looking at the distant horizon where the alien fleet had disappeared. The twin moons hung in the sky, casting silver light over the colony. It was a quiet, peaceful moment. But the memory of the day's battle lingered. The humans of Lyra 9 had stood together against overwhelming odds. They had shown courage, ingenuity, and unity. Even the alien allies who had once underestimated humans now understood why they were feared and respected across the galaxy. Elias turned to Sarah. "We've survived this trial, but the next one will be harder." She nodded. "Then we'll be ready. Together." In that moment, under the light of twin moons and the quiet of the recovered colony, humans had proved something fundamental: that courage, creativity, and unity could overcome even the greatest threats. The aliens had attacked with superior technology, but humans had fought with something stronger, the unbreakable human spirit. And as the stars glittered above, Elias and Sarah knew one thing clearly. No matter what challenges the galaxy placed before them, humans would always rise. The battle had been won, but the war was not over. Yet humanity had shown that with ingenuity, bravery, and unity, nothing could truly break them. And for the first time, many in the colony dared to believe not just in survival, but in victory. The battle over Lyra 9 had ended, but the scars of the conflict were still visible. Burned-out hulls of alien ships floated in the upper atmosphere, and cratered ground marked the points of intense bombardment. Yet despite the destruction, the colony was alive. Humans had survived, and more than survived, they had proved themselves capable of standing against an enemy far stronger and more technologically advanced. Captain Elias Dorn stood at the edge of the settlement, surveying the aftermath. The twin suns rose, casting long golden rays over the colony. There was a sense of quiet determination in the air, as if the humans themselves were breathing a collective sigh of victory and relief. Beside him, Sarah adjusted her engineering tools, checking the repaired generators and shield systems. Her hands moved quickly and efficiently, but she paused to look at Elias. "We did it," she said simply. Elias smiled, a mixture of pride and exhaustion in his expression. "Yes, but it's more than that. Humans did this. Every person here, pilot, engineer, civilian, they all played a part. That is what makes us strong. That is why humans endure." Around them, colonists were emerging from shelters, inspecting their homes, and helping each other rebuild. Alien allies who had once been cautious now moved confidently, assisting with repairs and learning from human ingenuity. It was a quiet scene of collaboration, showing that strength came not just from weapons or technology, but from unity and courage. The shuttle docks hummed with activity. Human pilots were checking their ships, making minor adjustments and planning patrols. They would not let the aliens return without consequence. Every human knew that vigilance was a key to survival, and the lessons of the previous days had been imprinted in every mind. Elias turned to Sarah. "We need to establish communication with the rest of humanity in this sector. The aliens will have sent reports about us. They'll warn others. We need to make sure humans know that they can survive and that they can fight back." Sarah nodded. "I've already prepared the network. Messages will be sent through secure channels. Other colonies will see what humans are capable of, and maybe they'll gain courage from it." The pair walked through the settlement, passing families rebuilding homes and children helping clear debris. The humans of Lyra 9 had faced overwhelming odds, yet here they were, alive and working together. The strength of humanity was visible in every determined face. By midday, the colony leaders gathered in the command hall. Holographic maps displayed the damaged areas of Lyra 9 and the locations of remaining alien forces in orbit. "We must remain vigilant," Elias said. "The enemy is not defeated entirely. They may retreat now, but they will return if they believe we are weak. That is why we continue to improve our defenses. That is why we continue to train. Humans do not wait for threats to come. They act before the danger is fully upon them." Sarah added, "And we show them that humans are unpredictable. That is our greatest weapon. They can have advanced technology, but they cannot predict human courage, creativity, and determination." The council nodded in agreement. Even alien allies seemed inspired, realizing that humans were not just strong, they were leaders, innovators, and protectors. In the afternoon, Elias and Sarah moved to inspect the outskirts of the colony. They climbed a small hill overlooking the settlement, taking in the full view. The twin suns reflected off the shielded barriers and repaired structures, highlighting the resilience of the humans below. "They'll come back," Elias said, his voice low. "But now they know something new about humans. We are not easy prey. We think, we adapt, and we endure." Sarah looked at him, a calm determination in her eyes. "And we fight together. That is what makes us more than survivors. That is what makes us a force to be reckoned with." For a moment, they stood in silence, watching as colonists rebuilt, laughed softly, and helped one another. There was pride in every action, courage in every gesture. Humans had faced the impossible, and they had stood tall. As evening approached, Elias and Sarah returned to the command center. Communication signals were being established with neighboring colonies, and patrol routes were updated. The human spirit, displayed so vividly in recent days, was becoming a beacon of hope across the sector. Sarah reviewed the status of the colony's shields. All systems are operational, and redundancies are in place. Even if they return, we'll be ready, and we'll continue to adapt. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. Humans survive not just because of technology, but because of courage, creativity, and loyalty. You've shown that every step of the way. Sarah smiled. And so have you. Humans inspire humans. That is our true strength. The night sky fell over Lyra 9, clear and filled with stars. The destroyed alien ships still floated in the upper atmosphere, but their presence no longer brought fear. It was a reminder of what had been faced and overcome. Elias and Sarah walked to the edge of the settlement once more. "Do you think they'll ever understand humans?" he asked softly. Sarah shook her head. "No. And that is our advantage. They will never fully understand courage, creativity, and determination. Humans are unpredictable, and that is what makes us unstoppable." He looked at her, feeling the bond between them that had grown stronger with every trial. In the face of danger, humans could rely on one another. That connection, trust, loyalty, and shared purpose, was as powerful as any weapon. "Then we continue," Elias said. "We build, we defend, and we inspire. The universe will see that humans are not just survivors. We are leaders." Sarah nodded. "Together, we can face anything. Together, we endure." In the days that followed, Lyra 9 began to flourish. Humans repaired damaged buildings, expanded their farms, and reinforced defenses. Alien allies who had once doubted humans now worked as equals, learning from their methods and marveling at their ingenuity. The colony became a symbol of human resilience and unity. Nearby settlements, seeing the courage of Lyra 9, sent messages of support and began strengthening their own defenses. Humans were not just surviving, they were inspiring others to rise. One evening, as the twin moons rose again, Elias and Sarah stood on the observation deck. The colony below was alive with activity. Children played safely, adults worked with purpose, and the air was filled with quiet pride. "You know," Elias said, "when I first came here, I wondered if humans could really survive on this frontier. But now I know. We do more than survive. We endure, we adapt, and we inspire. That is what makes us human." Sarah smiled, looking out at the stars. "And we always will. Humans face impossible odds, yet we rise. We are more than our technology. We are courage, creativity, and spirit." Elias nodded. "And we fight together. We protect each other. That is why we are unstoppable." As the twin moons reflected off the settlement's shields, the humans of Lyra 9 looked to the stars with hope. The alien fleet might return, and dangers could arise, but humanity's spirit would never be broken. They had survived the impossible, and they would continue to rise above every challenge. Elias turned to Sarah, a quiet smile on his face. "There is room for us here," he said softly. "In this colony, in this life, together." Sarah's eyes softened. "Then let's stay. For a lifetime." Under the twin moons of Lyra 9, humans had faced overwhelming odds, endured countless trials, and emerged victorious. They had proven that courage, creativity, and unity could overcome any threat. The colony thrived not just because of technology, but because of the human spirit, the most powerful force in the universe. The stars above glimmered, reflecting humanity's unbreakable will. And on Lyra 9, a new horizon had been reached. Humans had survived, they had inspired, and they had shown the galaxy the strength of their spirit. The universe was vast and full of challenges, but humanity would always rise together, fearless and unyielding.